starting lineup of your favorite show. At producer, 5'11" from Blanchester, the Cow Killer, Casey McCollister. And comic engineer, standing at 4'8", the pride of the West Side, Elliot Rearing. And your host, weighing 150 pounds, soaking wet, from Hamilton, Ohio, Ace Fowler.
Well. I am hosting Off the Bench today. How about that, everybody? Are we live? Can I get a live check?
Yeah, we're
live. I'm not seeing it on my YouTube, but I'm going to assume we're live. I'm gonna do this with the assumption that we are live right now. Welcome on in, everybody. Welcome into Off the Bench. I am not Tom Brenneman. I am not Trace Fowler, and I am not Reed Mouse. You've got the fourth stringer in today, and I'm going to try at least to make it as entertaining as possible. Should be a fun show. It should be a fun show. I got a lot of stuff planned. We are presented, as always, by United Dairy Farmers, and we are live.
I mean, it was sitting here saying it was live.
Yeah,
for
I'll
I'll
defend Casey.
I'll
defend Casey here because someone's gonna get on his tail, and he absolutely should not, because I'm looking at his screen and it said we've been live since about 9:58 on YouTube, and it just finally got across the air. So here we are.
Well,
let's
we're
rock
live.
and roll, baby.
I was trying to figure out if we were live, and now I know we're live. Today on the show, we are going to get into the stellar play from local collegiate basketball teams across the area. We are going to talk about the Reds, specifically regarding the comments made by Nick Krall and Jonathan India. We are going to discuss some of the worst moments of our fandoms. That should cheer up everybody.
I think today is part of it for me.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Being told I'm not a fan.
Well, we'll get into it. We're going to try to take some calls during that segment. At the end of the show today, we are going to do some buy or sell MLB edition. And finally, we are going to get into the weeds of this MLB jersey situation because Fanatics has taken over, and boy, have they dropped the ball. Immediately following the show today is an interview by Nicholas P. Kirby, our good friend, previewing the St. Louis Cardinals, finding out if they are as good as they appear to be. It's going to be a little Cardinals preview, interdivisional preview. Justin Williams of The Athletic will join us hopefully at 11 a.m. to talk some Bearcats basketball. That should be fun, enlightening. And we're going to start around the room real quick, if that's okay with everybody, because I was driving in this morning, and I had to take my car to the shop. Everybody knows I've got a 2003 Chevy Impala. I don't talk about it a ton, but if you do know me, I certainly have mentioned it once or twice. And I had to drive it off. I had to drop it off at a shop. It needed its oil changed. I don't know how to change the oil by myself, so I went with my dad. Dropped him off at his work, which, as many people know, is Elder High School. Shout out to Elder High School. No free ads. But I had to take a different way to work. This is the first time I've had a different way to work coming into Hamilton ever. Reed, I know you make fun of me for saying I'm against things that are obviously like things that you should be against. I'm against morning rush hour. I'm against it. I have not had to deal with, I deal with a lot of slow drivers coming into Hamilton. I deal with a lot of trucks, semis, cement trucks, people who don't know how to drive, and they all come the same way. They all come into Hamilton, and I have to deal with that. But there's never any traffic. I'm always going a certain speed.
So you came through I-75.
Correct. I always have a certain speed I'm going. Maybe it's 40, sometimes it's 30. I praise the Lord. Sometimes it's 55. That's my average speed I'd like to hit. I was driving in from the highway this morning, the other side, pretty much from where Casey comes in from.
Yeah.
It took about an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
The traffic was brutal, and I'm never going to go that way again.
I'm very proud of you taking the stance that you are anti-traffic.
I'd like it on the so what are the things? I'm anti-cancer, I'm anti-traffic, I'm anti-infidelity. I'm anti the things that are most important to be anti about.
So that when people review this show, that we get clear and evident statements, quotes from you.
Yes.
Opinions on Nazis. Are you anti-Nazis?
I'd like to make the stance I'm anti.
Okay.
Anti.
That's a good stance.
Yeah. So Casey, what about you?
Yeah, I'm also
It appears we weren't live.
Yeah, I am anti-Nazi. Yeah.
Okay.
And
I'm glad.
we've been live since 9:58.
Kirby, we can clip that one, and I'm
put
sure
that one out there. You let Twitter know that we do not like Nazis.
Bad people. They're very, very, very bad. All right, let's get into some talk. Casey, by the way, how are you? You didn't answer my question. You doing good?
I'm doing good. Doing good. Fantastic.
Good.
Great morning.
By the way, when I asked when the show was live, it was not live. That's correct?
I mean, it was live at 9:58. So
I'm not going to mention it. I'm not going to harp on our producer.
Listen. You don't understand what was going on over here.
I want to make something very.
All he can do is press go live, see that it's going live to YouTube, and then press live on YouTube. That's what he did. And it said he was live.
You are right.
It said people were watching the show too.
I want to make something very clear. I'm against traffic. I also don't know anything that Casey does over here. I have the brain power of an ant. So unfortunately for me, that is Casey's expertise, and I was just giving him some light trash talk. All right, last night, our teams suck. Every single team we have in this city, they all suck. Every single one of them. I think it's a curse. I really do. I'm pretty convinced. Let's start with Xavier. Xavier, they dropped a game they couldn't afford to drop against Providence. And again, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it was a horrendous second half. I think that's fair. It means it's a 79-75 loss, and it's pretty much all but over for our Xavier Musketeers. Sean Miller, after the game, very, very upset, courtesy of our good friend Paul in the Sean Miller pod.
I got a technical foul, and, one of the things that I've learned, and I got this, there's a tier system in this league. I know what tier I'm in. No one has to remind me. I haven't won enough. I haven't been here long enough. I haven't been in the Final Four. Don't have enough championships or wins. I get it. But what I get a technical foul, and this is the second time on this, for saying that's 5 fouls in a row now. That's 5 fouls in a row. That's a problem. That's a problem. And I get it. I'll take my rightful place on one knee. But what I'm not going to do is sit and watch that other coach do anything different than sit on his one knee. Because when you get into these type of games at Creighton and Providence, I don't want to give Providence one point or 2 points. That technical foul came at the beginning, in the middle of the first half. And if that's the bench decorum, then let's even out these tiers. All right? Don't pick on the weak dudes like me. Spread that shit out. Get some more guys. We didn't lose because of a technical foul. The officiating was fine. I thought even Des Claw's strong drive at the end. Sometimes you get a foul on that call, but Gaines did a great job. That was an awesome block. That's the play of the game. He left the left corner, jumped above the rim and blocked Dez's layup. Awesome job. But when you get a technical foul that's 5 fouls in a row. I get it. I know who I am. I get it. But I don't know just in terms of how that feels for our team. And I just want to make sure that as that tier system's in place, the top tier guy can't do one thing and then, man, I'm sitting on my little, left knee and getting that technical foul. That shit is sickening. There's a lot at stake. There's a lot of players and people that work real, real hard. Game can't be decided by that's 5 fouls in a row. Tired of that bullshit.
Woo!
Fired up.
Some spicy language. Thank you to the Sean Miller pod for posting that video. And again, I'm not going to sit here and judge the way some coaches handle press conferences, but that's how you handle a press conference. Listen, if I'm a Xavier fan, I'm fired up about that. I know the team, respectfully, is not very good this year, but at least you got a guy that's damn good. I think Sean Miller's legit, and put it on the quote. I'm pro Sean Miller.
That is actually a stance.
I think Sean is a good coach, and the way he handles himself, the way he handles his business, I think is admirable.
That's pretty clearly directed towards Dan Hurley, right?
Yeah,
exactly. Because Dan Hurley's a psychopath.
Oh, he's crazy.
He's legitimately a psychopath.
Like college basketball coaches. Again, we know Bob Knight, we know Rick Pitino. You have to kind of be like football coaches. I would say not as much. But college basketball coaches, you have to have some semblance of crazy in there. If you watch like a Wes Miller, if you watch the Bearcats play, Wes Miller, the way he coaches is crazy. He's in a wide defensive stance.
Yeah, he's
every
slapping the
single
floor, he's getting low.
Every single second of the game. And you got to have a little bit of crazy in you. I respect that. We'll get into Xavier just in a bit here. The Bearcats, how about these guys? They dropped a game that was inexcusable to lose. Oklahoma State respectfully stinks. They get them at home as 11-point favorites. Start out good, like they always do. They finish the first half horribly, like they always do. And they go on their way in the second half to come back, and then they give it away like they always do. It's the same story every single game with this Bearcats team. It's incredibly frustrating to watch. They have not won back-to-back Big 12 games. And I believe, I've had questions regarding what this team is, and I think we found the answer, and it's that they're not good enough. I think they've got a lot of talent. They've got a lot of hope for our future. I think Wes is still a decent coach, but, man, they are not good enough. And Bearcats fall 80-76 to Oklahoma State as 10-point favorites. Coach Wes Miller after the game.
Better job to get us there, and I got to get this group to believe that every minute they're in the gym, they're working for those possessions. They're going to work. They're going to compete. They're going to play hard. They're especially going to play hard when their backs are in the corner, and that is an awesome quality. I got to get us to be that way all the time, not just when we're down, okay, or not just in segments. And I told them I got to do a better job.
Defensively, they shoot 55% from the floor, both halves over 50%. Was there anything specific that they were doing that was giving you trouble, or was it just a culmination of things?
It's a culmination. They got some easy baskets in transition, just honestly it wasn't like things happened to Crim. We have the turnover. I think CMOS turns it over trying to drop it off to AZ early, but we hustle back so darn hard. John makes a play, and then it turns into a foul on the other end. I mean, the stuff that should result in transition opportunities, I thought our effort to get back was good, but just on made bad, we make a three and we don't get set. And they drive it baseline and ding it around and get a wide open three. I mean, transition defense was not where it hasn't been. And it's on me. I'm trying everything I can do to get them there, and I'm not right now. And I got to do better. Told them that in the locker room. We made a bunch of mental errors, defensively, like understanding who we're closing out to, like, the scouting report type stuff. We gambled a couple times when we shouldn't have. Like, we went after balls we shouldn't go after. I thought our activity was tremendous at times defensively, but then sometimes we try to go make plays that are silly. Like, we go after a loose ball at half court that we just can't get, and creates 5-on-4, results in a basket. At end of the half on the.
There was Wes. Just not good enough. It's not good enough. And we can play the blame game after every single game. But at the end of the day, this is Wes Miller. This is the coaching staff. They've been unable to create an offense that is sustainable in this conference. I'm not going to sit here and tear him apart, because he's very good, clearly, at creating a defense. It's the reason the Bearcats have gotten this far. It's because of how good our defense has been. But the past several games, and I'll get into this with Justin Williams, but down the stretch, they disappear. And it started really last season, I'd say. And you look back at some of those games, the NKU game, when you score 10 points and a half against a team, respectfully, I know they won the Horizon, they're not very good. It's a game you need to win. And it just seems like every single game I watch, they start slow, then they get really hot in the second half, and then they blow it in the last 4 minutes. Sometimes they hold on after they blow it, but it's just tough to watch. We'll get into more UC basketball again with Justin Williams at 11. Kentucky basketball. They lose at the Horn 75-44. Defense is horrendous. And I was going to get some Cal audio, but he only answered 3 questions before abruptly leaving the press conference. Tough scenes for Cal. And again, the UK fan base going to try to run him out of town as quickly as possible. What a wild time to be a basketball fan in Cincinnati or the surrounding areas. Bearcats had a great chance to make the tournament. Blow it. Obviously, there's still some season left, but I have a hard time believing the Bearcats are going to make it. At some point, Dennis Green, we are who we thought they were, and they certainly are who we think they are. They're just too inconsistent. Xavier had one of the worst starts maybe in school history, losing to Oakland, losing to Delaware, and it's been an uphill battle ever since then. And you watch Xavier, and it's clear they're not good enough. They've got some great guys. My guy, my favorite player maybe in this city is Quincy Oliveri. I think that guy's incredible. Unfortunately, it's not enough. You needed more from Desmond Claude. You needed more from McKnight. And you need more from especially the big men down there. I think, again, they're young. This is Sean Miller. I have complete faith in Sean Miller that he'll be able to turn Xavier around. This is just a one-off year. You lose 2 key players, and the season's probably not going to go your way. That's fair to say. Kentucky, they're 18-8. Cal is on the hot seat again. They look disappointing again. It seems year after year under this Cal era, as it were, has been difficult the past several years. OSU, they fire Holtman. They're 15-11, mediocre. NKU basketball is 14-13. They stink. Wright State, if you're into that, they're 15-12. They kind of stink too. They're fourth in the horizon, I guess, if you want to count that. You look around Dayton. Dayton at least appears to be a tournament team, along with Kentucky. But man, Dayton loses yesterday to George Mason. George Mason. This is 2 losses for Dayton in a stretch of 3 games. I think that just not good. I don't know if I can remember a time in this area where college basketball has been this low. I'm trying to think of a time and I can't do it. Usually everybody's, at least at some point or the other, somebody's good. And it just seems like none of these teams around this area are going to have what it takes to, A, make the tournament, or B, compete for a title. So that's tough to see. If you wanted to be a fan of the city or a fan, again, of the area, I call all of these teams the city, but it's obviously not. If you wanted to be smart and parlay them all, you could have done that last night. Let's take a look at how that parlay looked.
All favorites.
All favorites, and they all lost. That's a tough parlay. That's a tough parlay to make. But again, that's just where we are. That's just where we are in Cincinnati. I'm surprised more than any with UC because it looked like at least they could have done something. There was a possibility that UC had a chance to make this tournament. It just looks glim now. Now, I would say if we're going to start with Xavier, and that's what we're going to do today, we're going to start with some Xavier basketball. I think Xavier, again, has the potential. It's similar to UC. There's no moral losses anymore. We're out on all moral victories. But they show there's sparks in that Xavier roster. When you watch these games, that they can compete at a high level. They can compete in the Big East Conference every single game, night in, night out, except for UConn on the road. But whatever.
Not many teams are competing with UConn.
Not many teams are competing with UConn. UConn's the clear number 1 team. When you were watching yesterday, Reed, was there a chance? Was there a chance in your mind when Providence took the lead towards the end that Xavier was going to come back? Or did you think it was over?
No, I certainly thought that they were going to come back. You actually sent a text when you said you were out for blood. You felt so bad after UC lost that you were out for blood, and you hit Providence on the live money line. It was like 1.5 to 1. And when you said that text, Xavier was down 6.
Yep.
They were down 6, maybe even 7. And in the final minute of that game, they had a chance to score. Des Claude obviously goes up for the contested layup, a great play on Providence's behalf to stop Des Claude. It was Jay Cutler-esque, just going into like a triple team. But it's neither here nor there. I would have liked to see maybe someone else. And we actually have the play. Have you seen this yet, Elliot?
I have not. How much time was left when he went up for that?
About 10 seconds.
10 seconds?
5 seconds. So 5 seconds left on the clock when he goes up for that. A really good play in all seriousness, but man, I'm tired of losing at the bell with Des. I'm reminded of the Villanova game when he lost at the bell too. Listen, this is a team that you mentioned 2 guys that were supposed to come back that we lost, and both Zach Fremantle and Jerome Hunter. And I've made this point so many times. When you're a college like Xavier, and you're not the UK of the world, you're not the Duke, you're not the UNC, you're none of that. You're not Kansas. When you lose your entire starting 5, which is essentially what happens.
Yeah.
It's not good. Like, they brought back one player that played last year. And, yeah, they transferred in some guys that have played a lot of minutes. Quincy Oliveri's been fantastic. But when you bring back one guy who played on your team last year, you're not setting yourself up for a whole lot of success. Now, that's not all Sean's fault. I mean, he's just a
It's
very
not Sean's fault at all.
It's a senior-laden class. Zach Fremantle was supposed to come back, hurt. Jerome Hunter obviously had his ailments. So this is a team that I think at times gets you excited more so than maybe should. I mean, they got great guard play. And I think guard play comes at a premium in college basketball. Like if you look at the teams that win the tournament, it oftentimes comes down to who's got the better guards when it comes down to the line. And they played. I mean, I'm pulling up the box score right now. Trey Green didn't score a single point last night, but Claude, Oliveri, McKnight, they carry the scoring points. 22, 16, 19. Yeah, it's a very guard-laden team, and it's just a very young team. It's an inexperienced team playing in one of the best conferences in basketball.
Only 5 players scored for Xavier yesterday. They're just not deep
Usman
enough.
with a double-double.
Usman with a double-double. Usman with a double-double. I just don't think they're deep enough. They've got 2 really good guys. I think Davion McKnight is going to be very good. Again, it's not Sean Miller's fault. You lose 2 of your best players. You lose 2 veteran players, 2 key pieces to this team. And it probably wasn't ever going to go Xavier's way this year, and it sucks. Quincy's been a star. Desmond Claude's been okay. I don't think he's been as bad as everybody's saying he's been.
Claude's been good.
At least on X.com.
He's been fine.
I want to see these teams be good. By the way, Kirby put it in the chat. 2021 was the last time Dayton, UC, Xavier, and I think Kentucky all missed the tournament.
So I pulled this up. Xavier's first tournament appearance came in 1982-1983 season. They then didn't since from 1982 to 2018, they missed the tournament a total of 9 times, and never more than twice in a row. They never had a stretch where they missed the tournament 3 years in a row. Always a year here, 2 years here. Never more than 2 years in a row. Presuming that they don't beat Marquette twice and have a big run in the Big East tournament and all the good stuff that they can save you and you can be riding high going into the tournament, they will have only made the tournament one time since 2018. Now, granted, 2020, the tournament wasn't played. They probably wouldn't have made it that year, but it wasn't played. UC's the exact same case.
Yeah.
Since 1990, they've only missed the tournament a handful of times. And now they haven't made the tournament at all. Since 2019.
It's been bad.
This is the worst stretch of college basketball in this city possibly ever.
Again, and it sucks to see because I do think there are 2 good coaches in this city, 2 really good basketball coaches. I think Wes Miller, and we'll get into it more later, had to climb an uphill battle when he took over from Brannon. Sean Miller inherited a very good roster. I don't think that's bit wrong to say. I think he inherited a very good, talented roster. He did very good with that roster. Yep. Now starting his own his recruiting class, getting all his guys in here. It's going to take a little bit of time. And this year is that time. He gets this year. I think Xavier fans can be patient and wait for next season. It does suck though that as Cincinnati basketball fans, Cincinnati and Xavier. It's tough to watch. Do you think there's a chance? Any chance in the world, Xavier makes the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, you're not. You're not dead till you're dead.
Yeah, you're
right?
not dead till you're dead. But I'm like with the Bearcats, I'm out. I've seen what I've seen, and it's too much. I think for Xavier, mathematically, everybody's still alive. You can win your conference tournament, and anything can happen. But I would say, is there any world where Xavier beats Marquette?
Yeah, I mean, like they beat Marquette twice, beat Butler on the road, and then they win a game or 2 in the Big East, and we're looking at a completely different team. But based off you've seen, that doesn't seem likely to happen. And, Mouse Cop's already killing me in the chat. And you know what? I really don't care. I'm not going to let somebody else tell me how to be a fan. I didn't say anything about Xavier last night, and he's like, I'm done with Reed being a Xavier fan. I've never claimed that Xavier's my favorite team or anything like that, but I do root for Xavier. I watch every freaking game that Xavier plays, and you're going to tell me that you're tired of me, I'm fake, whatever. Get over yourself, Mouse Cop. I'm not the one, call me a fake fan. I'm not the one that's sitting behind a burner.
Oh, no.
Every single time. I at least got my name out there, right? Get out of here.
A lot of Xavier fans have burners. Burners.
The only person with a real account is Paul. It's the only person. I digress. I digress. But listen, this Xavier team, I almost don't want them to beat Marquette because I just kind of want to be over it.
Yeah,
like,
that's where I am. That's where I am.
It's just like I'm done. Like I'm throwing it up to the wind.
That's where I am. And again, at some point you are what you are. We're too far into the season to say that these teams are different than what they've played up until this point. So I'm still hoping and praying. I would love for both teams to make the tournament. I think that would be electric. Maybe we'll see in Dayton. How electric would that be? Do you think they'd do that? What? If let's say Xavier goes on some sort of unprecedented run here, and they somehow make the first four. UC gets hot. They make the first four. Do you think they'd play? Do you think they have us play each other in Dayton?
Yes.
If they could rig it, like if they were both around the 11s, an 11 seed, then they absolutely will. Actually, no, they wouldn't have them play each other. They'd have them play on opposite nights.
Do you think?
They would absolutely, because they're just trying to sell tickets to that. So they would just go opposite nights and have you go to one night and go to the other.
I think you're right. I don't think they'd ever do it. And Kirby's chiming in, no, he would never do it. They would never do it. And that's probably fair. That's it for Xavier. Again, we are who we think they are, and that's it. We're going to transition into the Reds here right now. I saw some comments yesterday from Nick Krall and Jonathan India. I wanted to start with Nick Krall. I think that's who I wrote down for you, Casey. And Nick Krall had to say this about being competitive. Because you look at Xavier, look at UC, both are competitive, right? What does competitive mean? At the end of the day, you call a team that loses competitive, and that's what Nick Krall said here.
They'll be competitive on a yearly basis, but we haven't won a World Series.
Yeah, I first off, I think competitive is a losing word. Like it's if you're competitive, you're just good enough to lose, right? Like you're in the game, and you lose. Oh, we were competitive. We don't want to do.
Yeah, I think that he's right. Number one, and we talk about expectations. I've talked about them for a long time. My goal for this Reds team is to not only be competitive, to use the word he used, and that's what the goal was last year, I'd say. The goalposts move every now and then. I think this season you're looking for a playoff berth, in my opinion. I think that's the end goal. Last season, it was to be competitive. You wanted to stay in games until the very end, and that's what they did. They were competitive the whole way through. But eventually you have to break through that mold. You have to. You have to be able to win games and win close games down the stretch, and I think that's what it comes down to. Will this team be able to do that? Because I think they're going to be competitive. I think they're going to be able to stay in every single baseball game they play. But I don't know if they're going to be able to win the tough games down the stretch, be able to win in September, which it appears I haven't seen in quite some time. Every time I watch the Reds in September, they're usually battered down by injuries, and it's uncompetitive baseball. But I hope at least at some point during this season, the Reds find a way to stay consistent, stay hot, and are able to win at least enough to make the postseason. Jonathan India had a quote yesterday as well. Jonathan India, I believe if you put it up here, Casey, for me, I'm going to. This is, by the way, shout out Reds Daily for this. I wasn't willing to move. If I wasn't willing to move, I would have been traded. I thought I was going to be traded the whole offseason just because there were so many rumors. I am willing to move positions and move around the field and just be a guy for this team again and help this team win. So it seems like all the haters, like Trace, like Evan, like other people around Reds fandom, their biggest knock on this guy was that he's unwilling to move. Clearly, he just said it there. If he was unwilling to move, they would have shipped him out of town. 100%. If you're not going to be a team guy, you can be a not team guy somewhere else. I think most organizations, that's probably how they operate, if it's not a superstar level talent. And I'm not going to say Jonathan India is a superstar level talent. He's a very good baseball player. Not a superstar, but he's certainly good enough to compete for the Cincinnati Reds. And I think this is where I guess fans kind of take it into their own hands and instead of and that's normal, right? I think every single fan of every single team, they take these narratives and they change them how they want to be changed. Jonathan India was a Reds guy first. He's still a Reds guy. He's a team guy. If he doesn't play 120 games this year, that's fine. He's going to move all around the field, and the Reds know that. He's going to try to help the team win. And I think that's the most important part. I'm tired of the slander. I'm tired of beating guys up for no reason. All I hear is trade Jonathan India. That's all I've heard for months and months. He's unwilling to move. He wasn't unwilling to move. That's preposterous. He's willing to move. He's ready to help the team. We've got Jonathan India for at least this season, and I guess that's where I will say, if he has a good enough regular season, I could see him being dealt at the deadline. Go ahead.
I was going to say, can I put some perspective in this whole Jonathan India thing?
Sure.
If I told you before opening day last year that in 1 year's time, we'd be talking about a team that improved so mightily that Jonathan India will be coming off the bench, that's a good thing.
It is.
That's an objectively great thing. If I told 23-year-old Elliot Rearing that 365 days ago and said, hey, remember your former Rookie of the Year, Jonathan India?
Yeah.
1 year from today, he won't be good enough to start in this starting lineup, or at least not every single day.
That's a great thing.
He's not a major cog to the success going forward. That's a good thing.
And again, I'm not going to sit around here and bash anybody. Jonathan India is going to help the team in any way that he can. The depth is great. The depth could not be better. Trace said it yesterday. Would you rather have Kevin Newman come up to the plate or Jonathan India? And if you say Kevin Newman, you're wrong. You're wrong. That's objective. Jonathan India is a better player. And I think that's okay to say. It's okay to want to keep a guy to add depth to a team that's going to be hurt. I don't wish for injuries. I don't root for injuries, but it's inevitable. Somebody's going to get hurt, and when that happens, Jonathan India will be ready to help. Back to Nick Krall for a second. He had another quote, Casey, I believe.
For India?
Not regarding India. I sent it later after the other ones. But that's okay. That's all right. Nick Krall basically, and again, I think he's earned a lot of respect with this fan base over the past over the past season and a half, I'd say. He came in, he traded away Winker, Suarez. He traded away Winker and Suarez, pretty much right when he got the job, and everybody was furious. And people were asking basically towards the end of, or I guess towards the trade deadline of this season, you got to make some trades. You got to make some deals to make this team better. And Nick Krall said they were asking for guys on the roster. They're asking for Noelvi. They're asking for Spencer Steer. This is a guy who knows what he's doing. This is Nick Krall here. This is the quote.
Last year, you guys were in it. We all know you guys were in it. Again, you were competitive. You didn't make it, right? You didn't trade some of your guys. You didn't make a lot of moves at the trade deadline. Is there a fine line between falling in love with your prospects and not trading them for a chance to win? And then also, what did you learn? Because there was everyone out there saying, man, the Reds should trade for a pitcher. They should make some moves. They have a chance. And then you came up short. So are things going to change? And what did you learn from it?
Well, I mean, I think you look at the pitchers that were on the market that got traded, and there weren't many of them that actually had a lot of success over the final 2 months of the season. When we looked at it, it was, you're right. You can fall in love with your prospects. We were in a spot where you could have made some moves and could have gone a little bit farther than we wanted to to make a move, but teams were asking us for guys on our major league club, and I wasn't willing to trade those guys. I wasn't willing to trade guys off the major league club that were the young players, and those were the marquee players that people wanted. And I felt that if you were taking guys off the big league club, you were just robbing Peter to pay Paul, and you were going to end up losing something off the club as you were even with gaining a rental.
I think Trace used that analogy yesterday, robbing Peter. I've never heard that before, robbing Peter to pay Paul.
He uses that one a lot.
Trace does?
Yes, quite frequently.
But the point is that the Reds have depth now. The reason you don't trade at the deadline last year for a team that has a lot of question marks is so this season you can have a stacked roster at pretty much every single position. You have Jonathan India, a guy like what Reed just said, he's not good enough to start on this team. That's how good the team is. That's why you're not going to go out there and make trades. And I want to make this a public apology because I doubted Nick Krall. I doubted the Reds front office. I was against all this prospect nonsense. I was against it. Clearly, I am wrong. No one's been more wrong in their entire lives than I have been regarding this topic. And it's good to see that we are in the hands of Nick Krall, who clearly knows something. He's very good at what he's very good at what he does. The Reds are about to embark on a season with probably the highest expectations we've ever had. Maybe the 2010, 2012, 2013 teams.
In context, I have a hard time believing that the expectations are higher than 2012 and 2010, 2011, 2013.
Maybe they're not as high as 2012. But for me, in my lifetime, I really do believe personally, for me, this team has about as high as expectations as you can. And I think that's a dangerous thing. I don't want to get too excited. I don't want to rope myself into a season that's going to let me or give me heartbreak. I think when you're bad, like I never had any hope for UC this year. I didn't. I thought maybe they could make the tournament, maybe. And at the very least, I hoped and I prayed that they could compete in the Big 12. They've been able to do that. They've at least proven that they could have been a tournament team had they not choked every single game. The Reds next year, I'm going to have. I don't care about the Las Vegas win total. I don't care that we're projected 81 wins. I have hope. For the first time in a long time, I think this city has been rejuvenated. We've got all of our spirit, our energy back. I hope the stands are filled every single game. I doubt it. But I hope they are. And I think with Nick Krall at the helm, with guys like Jonathan India, we're going to be okay. You're going to have a good season. I firmly believe it. I have a hard time believing, unless the injury bug curses us once again, I have a hard time believing that this team isn't going to make the postseason. I really do. Unless the Brewers wake up, unless the Pirates wake up, and the Pirates, I believe, what did they just break news here?
They did. They signed Mitch Keller to a 5-year, $77 million deal.
So we knew we were going to have Mitch Keller. Shout out to him. He's a very good pitcher. Very good pitcher. Did he lose it a little bit down the stretch, too, last year?
His stats last year, he threw 194 innings, struck out 210. He had a 4.21 ERA.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
The point of this Reds talk, though, is to say that I think the Reds are in a very good position right now with the people we have in our organization. Say whatever you want about the Castellinis. I am not pro Castellini. But for them to be able to build up this roster, give us this excitement this year, I am thankful. I am thankful that for the first time in my lifetime, as an adult, I should say, first time as an adult, I have a team that I can go to the ballpark 30 times a year and be excited every single game. It's not a social thing anymore. You used to go to these Reds games as a social thing. Hey, you want to come to the ball yard? We'll check out BetMGM, the BetMGM Sportsbook, and just sit in there for the whole game. Maybe come out for the seventh inning during the stretch.
It's sad you can't do that anymore.
It is sad you can't do that.
Because you could go to the book for free.
Alabama baseball guy ruined it for everybody.
Well, that didn't. They were still going to move regardless.
I know. But
did you
right
ever
before,
do that?
Right before they announced the movement was when that happened, I think.
Did you ever go and just sit in the book and watch the game from the book? You could see the field from the book.
I did it once, I think. I did it once. Yeah. But it wasn't a great view. It wasn't a great view from the book. Another guy I want to talk about real quick is Jake Fraley. And I think he's kind of a guy that's going under the radar based on every rookie that we have. He was very good last year. Up until he had to play on a broken toe and he kind of lost everything, he was incredibly good. Incredibly great. I think he's a guy, unfortunately, that's not going to make the cut towards the end of the year. I think Will Benson is going to prove that he's better. I think Jonathan India is going to be more serviceable in the outfield. I love Jake Fraley. I love him. And I wish he'd stay here. It seemed like there was a point last season where Jake Fraley was the only guy who was able to give me clutch hits. I think Reed and I actually talked about who was the most clutch, and he wasn't. But it felt like that. It felt like anytime you needed a big base hit from Jake Fraley, he'd give me that. He's a guy I would look for at the deadline. If he has a good enough regular season, he's a guy I would look for to be moved. I don't know if that'll happen, but at this point, he just seems like a guy that if you're looking for final roster spots, he's a guy that seems like he's on the outs. Obviously, we have him in control for 3 more years, I think. Maybe 5. I think it's 3 years. I don't want to lose or trade Jake Fraley. But if we're going to do some mid-season hypotheticals in February, that's a hypothetical I have. I think really that Jake Fraley could be the one to be traded. If there was any veteran to be traded at the deadline, it's him. I don't want him to be traded, but I think it could happen. Jonathan India is the other one. And again, this is just because the roster is so talented.
It'd be a relatively small pool. Speaking of mid-season trades, Kirby speculated that Nick Krall probably wasn't truthful in that interview where he said that other teams only wanted major league talent. Do you believe Nick Krall when he said that when he was looking for pitchers last year, or when he's looking for a trade at the deadline, that other teams were only asking for major league talent? Because I have a hard time believing that too.
I believe in Nick Krall. I can't walk back a take I just made. Nick Krall's my guy.
You don't have to walk back that you believe or don't believe in Nick Krall. I'm just asking, do you think he was being truthful?
I think he was being truthful.
So you don't think they asked for the Chase Petties of the world?
I think they were asking for both.
Okay.
But when you talk about prospects, again, Chase Petty is, a year off, a year or two removed from these guys? I mean, these were all kids last season. I mean, they still are kids. Noelvi Marte is still a rookie coming into this season. But I believe Nick Krall for what it's worth. And maybe it was to save a little bit of face there, and that's fine. That's what a good GM does. When he came up and he started talking in these press conferences, he started talking about the valleys and peaks. I was a little concerned. I don't know if you remember that quote.
Yeah.
It's you want to try to avoid the peaks and the valleys. You want to just stay level. I'd like to see a peak. I'd like to reach the pinnacle.
Well, you can't have a peak without a valley.
That's true. But I think
that'd be a plateau.
Would you say the whole last 30 years has been the valley, and then this is our peak? Because some could make that argument.
I certainly hope this isn't the peak. I certainly hope 81 wins or whatever the Reds got last year wasn't the peak.
81. But last year wasn't the peak. I'm saying this year could be the peak. Okay. I'm saying you could win 95 games this year.
Hey, they win 95 games and win the ship. Sure, peak.
I don't think there's anything
Then you
wrong
win a
with
second
that.
one, then you get Twin Peaks.
Come on. But that's it for the Reds talk for now. I wanted to make a couple notes about the competitive thing because I thought it was interesting to hear. Competitive is another word for losing. And I think that's 100% true. UC is the most competitive team in the world. Losers. And that's a fact. Xavier, competitive in every Big East game. Losers. Reds were competitive last year. Lost. And I think it's just another way to describe your team, and that's fun. Real quick, if that's okay, I wanted to try to get some calls in. If we have the call number somewhere up there,
top left-hand corner. Call in at 888-513-2269 to talk to your boy Elliot Rearing.
Yeah, and if you don't have to. But I was going to talk about some of the worst losses I've experienced as a fan. I was going to go on a little bit of a rant here. Because yesterday
I was like every 5 months.
I do this every once in a while because it just comes back to me that I experienced just a crushing, devastating loss. And yesterday to Oklahoma State as 11-point favorites was a crushing defeat. It ended my season. So I had to reminisce some of my worst losses ever. The Reds last year made the cut when you blow a 9-run lead to the Pirates when you needed a win. That's tough. The Reds made about, I want to say the Reds made about 100 of them last year. There were so many games down the stretch.
Do you remember the losses more than the wins? The crushing losses?
No, 100%. Really? 100%. I would say I think that's fair because I haven't, what win have I experienced really?
Well, like the Bengals making the Super Bowl.
That's a big one. But then you lose the Super Bowl. Crushing loss. One of the worst losses
What's
ever.
crazy is the AFC Championship game felt way better than the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Hurt. Felt way better.
100%. I think we go into this debate all the time. The Raiders win over the Chiefs win. The Raiders win was way better. So
that whole stretch. Sure.
The games leading up to it too. Other losses, notable losses. UC losing to Nevada. They blew a 22-point lead in 10 minutes. That was horrible. That was crushing. UC had a loss to Ohio State in the Sweet 16. I thought UC was going to win. They did not. Crushing. It just seems like you wake up in this city and you lose, and that's where I am as a Cincinnati sports fan. If you've got a bad loss, call into the show. If you don't worry about it. But I really do think Cincinnati's cursed. That's where I am. I think Cincinnati is absolutely cursed.
I don't believe in curses.
You don't believe in curses?
No. I will ask if you guys call in. You have to start off every call, long-time listener, first-time caller. That's our one prerequisite.
That's the one prerequisite?
You've got to say, hey, long-time listener, first-time caller. You've got to do that or we will hang up on you. That is the prerequisite to get on the air. But I don't think this city's cursed at all.
You don't think it's cursed?
I think we're just, listen, have we had the amount of success that Boston fans have had over the past 20 years? No. But you got to remember a thing about Boston. For the 100 years before that, it was tough sled.
It was tough sled.
The Patriots did not win a Super Bowl before Tom Brady. The Red Sox had not won a World Series since 1917. Now, the Celtics had quite a bit of success. But like every city, they go through their peaks and their valleys, and Nick Krall's just trying to eliminate that. Nick Krall's going to eliminate it for the entire city.
That'd be great. That'd be
no
great
more
if he
peaks,
could.
no more valleys, just plateaus up at the top of success.
I just want one time for my team to come up in the big moment. I want the walk-off home run. I want the buzzer beater. I just want to see it one time. I thought last night Day-Day was going to hit the 3 to send it to overtime. How naive. How naive I have to be to think that one of my teams is going to be successful. We have a caller. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name's Mark Fetters. How you guys doing?
Mark, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
What in your lifetime, Mark? What's the very worst loss? What's the very worst loss you've experienced?
Ohio State losing to Michigan, obviously.
Which one? Which time?
The last three. They're all they're a tie. It's a tie.
You lump them together there? That's fair.
Yes.
Now, have you've been a Reds fan your entire life? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now, if you had to pick a Reds loss, a gut punch Reds loss in your lifetime, what would it have been?
Maybe the Cueto loss at Pittsburgh playoff.
That's a good one.
That's pretty bad.
That's certainly a good one. And real quick before I let you go, Mark, thank you for this call. Do you think we should keep Jonathan India?
No, absolutely not. Why do you think a terrible second baseman can play as a utility infielder? I don't get that.
That's fair.
He's a terrible second baseman. What makes you think he can play outfield, third base, first base? He was a third baseman at the University of Florida. He's never played outfield in his life.
But if you give him a chance, don't you think the chance is what we're all waiting for here, Mark? If you give him the chance, this guy can be good in the outfield. Give him one.
Well,
game.
I hope he is. I mean, I hope he is. I hope he bats 300 and plays 25 positions.
And for the record, I agree with you. I don't think you should be like people are like Ellie De La Cruz, ship him to center field. I think some of that's nonsense. You saw what happened to Nick Senzel, and Nick Senzel, respectfully, clearly was unable to do it. He was a serviceable outfielder, but I think it caused him to be injury prone. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I think India's going to be up for the task. And I'll tell you what, Mark, if he has a couple horrible errors like missing fly balls early on in the season, the city's going to probably riot. And I want to.
I can see him now turn like 30 circles trying to catch a fly ball. That's just what I picture him in the outfield, and I can't get that image out of my head.
That's fair. All right, Mark. I'm going to go to the next caller. Thank you very much for calling in. Mark, you're a hero.
All right, guys.
See you, Mark.
See you,
Mark.
Love you. Bye.
Love you.
We love you too. We love you guys, except for Mouse Guy.
All right, here we go. Who's up next, Casey? We got another caller. Caller, are you there?
Yeah, this is CJ from Columbus.
CJ.
First time, long time.
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to piggyback off the Ohio State talk. I think that there's nothing more defeating, nothing more devastating than to have the likes of guys like myself, C.J. Stroud, Marvin Harrison Jr. You can go down the laundry list of all the great Buckeyes that have ever played for the program, and there's not too many better than what we had just a few short years ago. And the idea that that we were right there at midnight getting ready to kiss our significant others, and we just significantly we didn't even have a competitive kick. I mean, the kick was so far left that we never even stood a chance of celebration. It was one of those things where you were just ready to celebrate the new year with all of your loved ones right nearby. You're ready to kiss your significant other, and right as the ball drops, so does Ohio State as usual. The last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years.
Now let me ask you this, because when you're a fan of Ohio State, you're a fan of greatness. And I think it's like being a fan of the New England Patriots. I feel like if you don't get to the pinnacle, if you don't get to the championship every year, it's a disappointment. I feel like some of those losses are skewed. For me, I'm just hoping any of my teams can win a game. I pray at night that my teams just win one single game. I don't care who it's against. I just pray they keep my interest for the next day. As an Ohio State fan, would you say that every loss you have to Michigan or every loss you have in the playoff, how much worse does it hurt knowing that everybody in the world expects you to get to the championship?
Well, that's the funny thing. It's not so much the world. It's really just Columbus. I think that's where you're a little bit wrong here. You have like this kind of circle around Greater Columbus of all those that expect to win every single game, but the reality is that we just don't win every single game. And until we do, I guess Ryan Day will be on the hot seat. Here's the thing: Ryan Day's like 975-6, but he's like 1-6. He's like 1-6 against top 25 ranked teams. So it's one of those weird phenomenons where we don't know if we have a good coach or not. I assume that's kind of how it feels in Cincinnati from time to time.
This is a great call. Reed, do you have a question for this caller?
Yeah. Random question for you, CJ, because this is CJ Stroud, correct?
Correct. Number 7 in your program.
Yep. CJ, as a quarterback in the AFC, your thoughts on Joe Burrow's 2021 playoff run?
Well, I was too busy. I was too busy focusing on what we had to do in Columbus. Now, I know we fell short, but what I've come to hear and what I've come to realize is that's the same similar semblance of what happened with Joe. Obviously not in the championship game in college because he came through there, but I've been told throughout the rumors, the rumor mill in the National Football League, that really the only person that can ever win anything is Patrick Mahomes. He's the best there ever was. He's the best there ever will be, and he's the only man in the world that really can do anything worthwhile on a football field in the AFC. So I'm just trying to figure out a way in which we could possibly knock him off. But outside of that, I haven't focused on really anything else.
All right, good luck to you, CJ. That's a tough
CJ,
bill to get over.
All right, I love the show, guys. Take care. Enjoy your day.
Yeah, thanks for paying our paycheck.
Yeah, thanks for paying us, CJ and Trace. All right, we have one more call.
Yeah, we got one more.
All right, if this is Sean, I'll hang up immediately.
It took me a while to realize that
I didn't know it was
Trace
either.
Till someone put it in the chat, and I was like, oh, yeah, this does sound like Trace.
How's it going, fellas? I'm a very, very long-time listener, but I just learned how to use my phone. And the biggest loss I ever took was at a bar. Joe Morgan took this hot blonde from me in 1975. I can't get over it. No, man, this is Randy Gillespie, buddy, and I just can't get over it. Got rolling, bobbling the ball. I was at game 3. It was rocking. Homer Bailey had like 11 strikeouts, free ice cream for everybody. And I just wanted to grab my little helmet of ice cream and smash it in a little kid's face. It was a bad day.
Randy, I'm not gonna lie. The first half of that call had me. That was elite.
That was elite. I appreciate it, fellas. I'm driving into work, so I can't stay out here very long. But I figured I'd give you guys a laugh. And I spent a lot of bad times as a Cincinnati Reds fan. And I was, like I told you on Twitter, I believe, I was like, I get a little numb to it, man.
Randy, that Scott Rowland loss is up there. It's top 5 for sure. Thank you. Enjoy your work.
And one last thing, Matt.
Yeah.
And Matt McClain, he has a little rough night with his woman, and boom, his oblique is through. We don't know. I don't. You know
Could be.
Could be true.
Could be.
One too hard hip thrust, and boom, the oblique's gone. We don't know.
Randy, it sounds like you're speaking from experience.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you.
All right, tell us.
You guys have a good night, buddy.
See you, Randy. We got one more call?
We got one more.
All right. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name's Drew Garrison. I'm from Miamisburg, Ohio. I'm here to say that I was not paid to call in or promote your show. But the worst loss I've ever experienced is Paul Fritchner leaving Chatterbox Sports, and I'm too upset to talk about it. I got to go.
All right, Drew, thanks for the call. And that was a damning one.
He had a loss. He had a loss yesterday. We'll get to that later.
We'll get to it later. That'll be our cherry on top. Drew,
we got one more.
We got one more. No, one more.
No, we got.
Okay. I see what's happening. All right. So we're going to transition here. Give me 1 sec as I get my notes. Thank you by the way, everybody, for calling in. That was very fun, especially Trace acting as CJ. But now we have a very special guest. Justin Williams of The Athletic is here. Now, I have talked to Justin various times. I've talked to him over the phone at 700 WLW. I've talked to him over the phone at ESPN 1530, all as a producer. And it's usually just a, hey, Justin, how are you doing? And then Justin says, oh, I'm good. And then I put him on hold, and then the real person talks to him. Now today, because everybody's out, everybody's on the IL, I'm hosting this show. So Justin's going to have to deal with me, and I can't thank him enough. Justin Williams of The Athletic, how are you doing, good sir?
I'm doing great. I'm glad we get to have a little bit of an extended conversation this time.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Listen, I'm very excited. Now, you're not covering, unfortunately, you're not specifically covering the Bearcats anymore. Is that correct?
Yeah, a little bit broader scope now, doing some more Big 12 stuff and some national stuff, but still here in Cincinnati, still keeping tabs on the Bearcats. I watched a tough loss for them last night against Oklahoma State.
It was, and I guess we'll get right into it. I'm going to start with some Bearcats, and I want to get some generic college basketball stuff with you too. But we'll start with the Bearcats. Lose 80-76. I thought it was a mediocre Oklahoma State team. I think most people did. Vegas certainly did, with an 11-point spread. It seems like the thing that's kept us in games most of this season has been the defense. I think the defense has been elite for most of the season. The past two games, UCF, now Oklahoma State, at least down the stretch, the defense has fallen apart. And I don't know why. Is there a specific reason as to why this defense just can't defend under pressure?
Yeah, I mean, last night, especially at the end of the game, it was a mix of things. Give Oklahoma State credit. They came down, hit a couple big threes, had some freshmen step up. But a lot of times they were getting those possessions because Cincinnati gave the ball away. And so, I think part of the problem has been this is a team that for, a good chunk of the season was taking care of the ball, was defending without fouling. And when they struggled offensively, which they've done a number of times, they were still able to kind of stay in games, even though they don't have that kind of alpha go-to scorer. Well, if you're going to turn the ball over and you're going to put teams on the free throw line, then, that defense that you had, it just makes it that much tougher if teams are able to get out and run and get in transition. And so it's been very, kind of a curious season for the Bearcats. Yeah. They haven't won 2 games in a row since December, right? Haven't done it all of conference play. And it just feels like whatever hump is there for them to kind of get over and feel like a true tournament team, there's always something that gets in the way. And last night it was just, they have a lead at home against a team you should beat, and you start giving the ball away, start giving up easy baskets, and it kind of just, got away from them. And then when you don't have that go-to player, you can just, clear out, put the ball in their hand, try and have a possession where things calm down and they get a bucket. It just makes it all that much tougher.
And I think that's the biggest thing for me. I've been trying to figure out this team for quite some time, and I think I finally figured it out last night, is that you have some games where it's day-day. You have some games where it's Skillings. Every once in a while, Seamoss shows up. He drops 16 points. But it seems like they are missing the guy. I've been trying to find the guy on this team for quite some time, and I've come to the conclusion that there's just none. There's no the guy, at least as of right now. I'm going to try to be somewhat positive here. If you have to pick somebody on this roster to be or transition into that guy next year, who do you think it would be?
I mean, right now they're clearly putting that role on Seamoss's shoulders, and to his credit, I think he's doing as well as he can with it. I think they're probably asking a lot of him, maybe a little bit more than they would want to. The other person you mentioned is Skillings. Dan's super talented. He has kind of all of the athleticism and projections that you would want. He's just not quite there yet as a refined basketball player. Maybe look at the leap he took from last year to this year. It's certainly possible if he takes a similar leap next year that, maybe he does become a little bit more of that go-to guy if he can kind of refine his handle and just kind of his feel for the game. So I certainly don't want to say like that's not going to happen for him. I think if both of those guys get better and more comfortable, then maybe you're feeling a little bit better about having them at this point in the season, though, and this point in kind of their game. I think you're asking a little bit too much. And so you're right. That's a problem. I think there's a couple other things. You got to talk about the Victor Locken thing. Like, this guy was their second leading scorer and, has had a couple rough weeks and now is just completely out of the rotation. He wasn't playing well, so I kind of understand why they were docking his minutes. But basically, to go from your starter and second leading player, most consistent post offensive player by far, to just sitting on the bench for 2 straight games now, that's a huge blow to any team that's like trying to make a tournament run. And it's part of a bigger issue, which is just I don't think they've ever totally got their rotation set. Part of that was CJ Frederick getting hurt. Aziz missed a couple games. But when you mix in, all right, well, now you're trying to bring CJ back, and now Vic's totally out of the rotation. It just there does not feel like they have a lot of flow or kind of understanding of who their best 5 players are or kind of what matchups make the most sense.
Yeah.
And so the combination of those things, not having that go-to alpha, not knowing exactly what your best matchups are, then you get kind of in these late game situations where, as much as Oklahoma State's not a great team, they're still a Big 12 team. Like, we're not in the AAC anymore. So you have this team that has those kind of deficiencies playing in the best conference in America, and it's showing up in some of the end of these games. They haven't been able to pull them out.
And I think you're right. I think Victor Locken was supposed to be the guy. He was supposed to be at least a guy, certainly. Not a guy who sits on the bench and doesn't see any minutes whatsoever. If you had to pinpoint something, and I've been trying, I don't want to kill the guy because I think the fan base is out on him completely. Every time he walks onto the court, it's just filled with boos. The whole city is just against him right now, and it sucks. It sucks. That's where we are as a fan base. But if you had to look at something, and maybe it's confidence, maybe it's the Big 12 conference as a whole. It's a bear of a conference. It's a lot different than the American, a lot different. I'm trying to figure out what the hell happened because at some point he just started chucking up threes, and I didn't understand it completely. He made a couple early on against teams that respectfully aren't very good. But he had games against TCU. He had a good game against TCU, and then it's just gone. It went completely away, and I'm trying to figure out what happened. Do you think it's all mental? Do you think it's just the yips?
I think mental's a part of it. I've heard people say that he was sick for a while and maybe is just still kind of getting his way back. Unfortunately, in some form or fashion, this has happened with Vic every year. He missed his true freshman year with an injury, but at some point he's either kind of suffered an injury that has set him back for a couple weeks, whether it's missing games, just getting back into shape. I don't think he's had a full season where he's been at kind of full strength. And unfortunately, it's hurt him, it's hurt the team. So, maybe he was sick and maybe there's, just things going on that has kind of hurt his conditioning or his flow of the game. That I totally get it. That happens. We're talking about college student athletes, like that stuff's going to happen. I don't have the, full answer or explanation for it, but it's clearly something that, if you're talking a couple weeks ago, oh yeah, Vic's just going to completely be a non-factor for this team down the stretch. Well, yeah, that's going to hurt them and impact them as a team. And, I think last night was an example of that.
I think switching to the other big men, you have Aziz, you have Jamil. Everybody and their brother was praying that the NCAA would let them play for us. And I think, without question, UC is significantly better with them than without them. Saying that, and especially with Victor Locken being a complete no-show as of right now, we need them. We need them to perform. It seems like offensively, at least, it seems like Jamil, it seems like he travels with the ball every single time whenever he gets it. It boggles my mind. But it seems like the offensive possessions with Aziz and Jamil, there's just nothing. It just seems like I'm getting nothing from them. Every once in a while, Jamil and Aziz will go up for dunks. They do that nonsensical lob every single possession, it feels like. They'll just lob. I'm not going to go on a side tangent here, but when Dan Skillings lobbed that ball to the third row of the student section, I almost lost my mind. I almost started doing cartwheels. I was so upset. But if you had to say, again, maybe this is just them still trying to figure out this offense. They're new to the program. Why has it seemed to, at least maybe it's just me. I don't think so, though. Why has Aziz specifically struggled offensively? It doesn't seem like there's any post move whatsoever for him.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And like you mentioned, this is a player that they really wanted this offseason, that they worked really hard, even in a court and legal sense, to get eligible and be on the floor. And he's certainly an impactful player, especially on the defensive end. I don't think his offensive game is there. And maybe that transition from, when he was at Utah Valley last year to coming into the Big 12, the defense has kind of translated, the rim protection has translated, the offense has not, and so maybe that's just talking about a step up in competition defensively and the type of athlete and caliber of player they're playing against. But it does hurt them because you see at the end of the games, whenever they can, they substitute offense defense between Jamil and Aziz, and like you can do that makes sense at times. But I just think for a player that is as important to them as Aziz is, it's kind of unfortunate that you're not getting much on the offensive end, and you feel like at the end of games you can't even leave him in there. And Jamil Reynolds is a good player. I think he offers some things, but this is what we're talking about, where Vic was supposed to be that offensive player. He's certainly not the defensive player that Aziz is, but we saw last year against good competition that he can rebound, he can defend the rim, and so if you're kind of losing him as that offensive post option, then you're really hurt as a team overall. I do think they tend to play better when it's one big lineup. I'm not saying you necessarily have to do that all the time, but so I understand why they've kind of made that transition to only playing one at a time. The other thing though is I don't know that they have that like ideal kind of stretch for, they've kind of put Dan in that role or John Newman in that role at times, but they don't have that like 6'8" guy, and who I feel like they can necessarily match up against some other teams. And if they got Tyler Betsy's coming next year, maybe that's the player that it's going to be for them. So I think it's just there's little areas where I think they're a talented team. I think they have pieces to be a tournament team. They just have not found a way to either get them all right at the same time or get them kind of all moving, gelled in the same direction, unfortunately.
Switching over to the guard play a little bit, Jizzle was incredible when he was on the court yesterday. I think Mo Egger tweeted out that his plus minus was -11, which is crazy to me because of if you were in that arena, if you were at Fifth Third and you were watching that game, when he was on the court, it looked like a completely different team. He was crossing guys up. He looked elite. He looked spectacular. He plays 14 minutes. And I don't understand why on a team that's lacking a clear offensive consistent player. I think Jizzle could be that guy this year. And I guess what Wes said in the postgame was defensively he's not there yet. But you give up 25 points in the last 5 minutes without him. The defense looked terrible in the last 5 minutes without Jizzle, and you need offense. Why is Jizzle not playing more? I for the life of me, I can't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit on it, which is he's still struggling defensively. And this is something, and I totally get this. It's not something you see as fans, even a media member. You're not necessarily always focused on, all right, what are his defensive assignments and how is he doing on his rotations and his weak side? You see, you're right. He's played well offensively. He does not play offensively like a freshman. He doesn't look offensively like a freshman. And so I think all that stuff is encouraging. But especially the way that Wes Miller coaches in his system, if he doesn't totally trust you defensively, I think it's going to be tough for him to play him, especially considering I think for the most part, Day Thomas has been a good on-ball and kind of perimeter defender for them. So you're at the end of the game, you're like, all right, well, I want to make sure we can get those stops and get that defense in there. But you brought up the point. Last night, that didn't really work, right? If you're going to play terrible defense regardless, then you might as well have Jizzle in the game. I know other people, fans have made the point of why don't you play those two together a little bit more? And I think I understand that as well and would probably like to see that a little bit more at times. But, from a coaching standpoint, I can understand if you don't totally trust a guy defensively, why it's tough to kind of give them those, especially a true freshman. You're giving them crunch time minutes at the end of the game. So I think it's all just part of again, we talked about the rotation issues. I think this is a team that, and I certainly have not been watching them quite as closely, covering them quite as closely as I have in the past. It feels like the rotation has been an issue since we've gotten into conference play.
I just don't think we figured it out. If it were up to me and I'm just some dumb fan, and I'm not Wes Miller, I'm not making fun of Wes Miller here, but I would have, if I would have Day Day and Jizzle in at the same exact time. I think they're both electric. I think they can work together. I think you get the elite defense from Day Day, and you can have elite offense from Jizzle. That's at least how I would do it. Again, I'm just some dumb fan who complains from the sidelines. Is there a particular reason? I'm trying to figure out why we play so bad at home. Is Cincinnati cursed? I had this debate with Reed earlier on. I think we're cursed, Justin, because every time we play at home, it's just gut punch after gut punch, and I can't find a win. Why don't we win at home?
It's been surprising. I was there for the Houston and Iowa State games last week. The crowds are incredible. It certainly seems like that should be a lift for them. I don't have a great answer for that either. I think part of the bigger thing when I look at it is I'm looking less at like the home and road and just the fact that they can't win back-to-back games. I think that's just the sign of a team that I'm not going to say it's a young and experienced team because they have guys like John Newman and Seamus and Aziz who have played a bunch of ball even if they haven't played it all together. I just think it's a team that for whatever reason, whether it's injuries or just kind of the way the season's gone, they have not totally gotten on the same page and feel like a cohesive unit yet. And I think the pieces and potential are there, but look what we have 5-6 games left in the season. If that team hasn't gotten to that point, at this point, as much as it's disappointing to say, man, you lose to Oklahoma State at home, they also lost on the road to West Virginia. And now they have to go on the road to Houston and I think TCU coming up. Like it's not going to get easier. So unfortunately for this team, unless something just completely clicks with them, it feels like that, NCAA tournament bubble, it just kind of feels like it's slipping away from them a little bit after last night.
And this is going to be my last UC question because you kind of just somewhat answered it there, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Is there a scenario? Is there a chance UC makes this tournament? I don't think, again, obviously you can win the Big 12 tournament. You can win 3 games in the Big 12 tournament, and you're there no matter what, pretty much. And barring an absolute collapse in this regular season, which I don't think is going to happen, despite the inconsistency, they're at least to a point where they can win games at some point, maybe even on the road. They'll shock somebody. If they beat TCU, Kansas State, Oklahoma, and West Virginia, they're for sure in, right? Just a loss to Houston?
Yes, everybody but Houston.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think, yes, it also depends on what some of these other bubble teams do when you start talking about bid thieves and things like that.
Right.
They're clearly on the bubble. I think the only way they won't be on the bubble is that they run the table the rest of the tournament and then maybe even win a game or two in the Big 12 tournament. So there's definitely very clearly a path to get in. That's the benefit of being in the Big 12 is that there's always going to be big, Q1 games you can win and help your resume. The negative is that you have to go on the road to beat Houston. You have to go on the road to beat TCU. And even the home games against, Kansas State, which is not a great team, has struggled recently. Those aren't easy layup wins. We saw last night, Oklahoma State's not an easy layup win. So there's definitely still, a path for them to get the NCAA tournament. It just, if you can't beat teams like Oklahoma State at home the way they did, struggled to do last night, I have a hard time, wanting to predict that they're going to go on the road and beat Houston or go on the road and beat TCU and win some of these tougher games.
I agree with you. I think at some point you are who you are, and we're all the way through the regular season almost, and it just seems like it's too tough a hill to climb. Switching to the bubble, you mentioned the bubble. Is Gonzaga in my opinion, Gonzaga might be the most feared bubble team in the history of college basketball right now. They are going to play in Dayton. At least this is according to Lenardi, and obviously this won't be it. They play at least right now Butler. Could you see Gonzaga making a Sweet 16 run as a bubble team?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was talking to somebody about this last week. Brendan Marks at The Athletic wrote a great feature last week about kind of how wide open this tournament feels, or this current season of college basketball feels. And because of that, I think we're getting like, what was it, UCLA a couple years ago, mixed first or second year, where they were a play-in team and made it all the way to the Final Four. I think we're getting some version of that, a team that either is on the bubble or, just kind of sneaks into a low at-large bid and gets hot at the right time and goes on a huge run. Now, we also might say if it comes to the end of the season and it's UConn versus Purdue in the championship game, then it won't feel like it was a totally wide open season. Maybe it's just that smaller group at the top, as opposed to, kind of a bunch of parity. But yeah, it feels like once you get away from that top echelon of teams, which it seems pretty small, Purdue, UConn, Houston, maybe Arizona, maybe North Carolina on the right day or something like that.
Yeah.
I think outside of that, there's just a lot of good teams, good to decent teams that can go on runs if they get hot. Another one to me is like Kentucky, who loses again to LSU last night. But when Kentucky's on, when everything's working, they have a bunch of talent. They're really good. And when it's not, they can give up 100 points. And Gonzaga kind of feels like, another one of those teams where if everything's working and going right, then yeah, it can look good. But if you also look back at, especially a non-conference play, other than that Kentucky game that happened a couple weeks ago, most of the really good teams Gonzaga played, they lost to. So have they gotten it figured out? Or are they kind of moving in the right direction now and you don't want to face them? Maybe. Or maybe they get in the tournament and play a really good team and just kind of get stopped in their tracks again.
Do you agree with Cal that offense trumps defense when it comes March Madness? When it comes to tournament time, a team that can score like Kentucky, they can put up 100 on you no matter at will. Do you think that trumps the great defensive teams like Houston?
I think if a team gets hot and stays hot for 3 weeks, then sure. If his Kentucky teams plays at the peak of its powers offensively, I totally agree with him. Unfortunately, that's tough to do. And a team like his, where if you're just missing from three a little bit, or somebody's having an off night, well, then you can kind of get the doors blown off you by whoever you're going against. Which to me is why like Alabama is going to be really interesting to watch, or even an Auburn team that like loves to play quick and play up and down. But if those teams go up against Houston or a Virginia team or somebody like that just really locks in defensively, like, again, if you're just having a little bit of an off night, then you can kind of run up against it with those teams. So I totally understand, but maybe a team like UConn that's pretty balanced on both ends, makes sense why they're such a good team this season. I think that might be a little bit better formula than what Cal was talking about. Sure, if you can go out and shoot the lights out every night, great, but unfortunately it doesn't always work that way, especially in college.
All right, my last question. Your piece on the Kelsey brothers, that was incredible, and I believe they read it on their podcast. Will you be seeing residuals from that?
Look, I think in a sense, I know I heard from some people, some friends of mine who maybe are illiterate but listen to podcasts, and they're like, "Hey, I heard you got a shout out on the Kelsey podcast." So it might open me up to just another group of people who don't necessarily want to read what I write but heard about it, which would be nice. But I was not expecting them to do that, especially a couple weeks after the fact on the podcast. So that was a nice little surprise yesterday for them to shout it out and maybe give it another life. It happened before, like the article ran, and then Jason Kelsey decided to go to that Buffalo game and take his shirt off and in the booth, and it kind of gave it a second life then. So this is like the third wind that the article has gotten because of those guys. So for that, I'm appreciative, and any residuals I get, I'll just take in the form of maybe people checking it out on The Athletic.
That's fair. Justin, I can't thank you enough for coming on today. I tried my best. Hopefully I was entertaining enough for you. At Williams_Justin. Everybody go follow him. He's elite. Go read the piece on the Kelsey brothers if you haven't read it yet. It's awesome. Justin, thank you very, very much, man.
Anytime. Appreciate you guys having me.
Thank you, buddy. See you. All right. That was Justin Williams, the GOAT of The Athletic. And it is fun, like, I started out as a producer. It is fun to interview guys like that where you respect and you hear them and you talk to them behind the scenes so many times. And I finally got to interview Justin there. That was really cool.
You did great.
But right now, thank you, Reed. I found that I'm a little bit better. I can host, I think, but I'm very bad at ranting. Like Trace can rant with the best of them. Trace or CJ, he can rant up there with any person out there. I think you're really good at it too, Reed. I think I can interview people a little bit better. I think that's my talent. I think that's what I'm finding out here. And also, Kirby was telling me my mic was a little bad today, so I'm sorry if it was. Outside of that, we're going to go to ads real quick. Casey, if that's okay.
Yep, that's fine.
Let's do some ads.
Yep. The Bearcat Report is brought to you by Encore Technologies. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services from mobile computing, desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing modules to improve efficiency and
productivity.
That's right. productivity. The path to innovation begins here. Visit encore.tech. And let me tell you about this lovely bottle of water right here.
Is it lovely?
That is so lovely. You hear it? Doot, 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 doot. That's the sound of Pahhni Water. Made right here in Hamilton, Ohio, uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing other brands use. The result is a healthy alkaline water, and some say the best tasting water in the world. Visit Pahhni Water at PAHHNI water.com to see where you can buy this great tasting water. Get your coffee from UDF, swish it down with some Pahhni Water, and get your technology solutions from encore.tech.
You were swishing it around, and it sounded so lovely.
Oh,
It did.
Yeah.
And when you taste Pahhni, it tastes so delightful.
It does, doesn't it?
And I mean, you put it on your skin, feels incredible. No other bottle of water just stimulates all the senses like Pahhni Water.
Nothing.
Mr. Mo woke on the Skyline curse. Do you know about the Skyline curse?
No, the Skyline curse is. I think that's real. I think
if we were cursed,
that
I
only,
don't believe
that's
in
only,
curses.
I guess it does count for everybody then too. Yeah. So yeah, Skyline curse is real. Skyline curse is real.
It's real.
I'm all in. Cincinnati's cursed in some capacity. I think it was like 1991 when everything happened. I think we injured Bo Jackson, the Bengals. We injured
I had
Bo
no
Jackson.
clue about that curse.
We had
Really?
we had the Pete Rose scandal. I think happened similar time around that time frame.
Late 80s, yeah.
I don't know, man.
We looked up how long they've sponsored these teams, and I think we found that they'd been the official Skyline or the official chili of the Reds since like 2000.
Yeah.
It's a bad timeline.
Damn.
It's been last 24 years, not very good. It's been the official chili of the Bengals for exactly 1 calendar year, and wasn't what we needed it to be. It was also, they are the official chili of both Xavier and University of Cincinnati.
That's tough. UC also stole the Skyline parachute drop this season, I noticed. From Xavier. That was a Xavier bit. Unless it was UC first.
I'm sure it's just a Skyline thing.
Well,
yeah, I'm sure they just.
I don't remember UC ever doing it until this year. I could be wrong on that. Also, if you don't mind, like the stream, comment on the stream after the show ends. We're going to have programming notes. We're going to have Nick Kirby's interview immediately following this show today. Stay tuned for that. Stay vigilant. Watch out for it. Other than that, any other programming notes? We have Tom's big interview tomorrow, I think.
Yep, we're recording it today, so
Okay.
we'll have that out by tomorrow, and then probably do a gaming stream later, not at the normal time at 2:30 because we're recording that interview at 2.
Gotta record that interview. Yep.
So it'll be a little later.
So it'll be sometime today, and that is for members only. If you would like to be a member, feel free to do so. The last half hour or so, I'd like to talk about Major League Baseball, and again, specifically regarding the uniform issue, the jersey problem. I don't know exactly what the deal is with the jerseys. I've never been a jersey. I don't know who makes what jersey. But this started going viral about a month ago, I'd say. Maybe a little bit less than a month ago. Where MLB uniforms have been taken over by Fanatics and Nike.
Correct.
And they're terrible. Every single player hates them. The fans hate them. Everyone hates them. And they look bad. They look bad. And I don't know when because baseball is such a cool sport where there's so many unique uniforms. I still believe the City Connect jerseys rock. I think the City Connect jerseys are awesome. A lot of people don't like those. I think they're awesome. I think the Red City Connect jerseys are one of the best. And again, this could just be my opinion, but when you're a fan of an MLB team, part of it's you come to the game, you wear a little jersey. I think similar to basketball, I think it's the second coolest sport to have a jersey from. I think football is the worst.
So I won't be caught dead in a basketball jersey.
I won't wear them either. But I'm just saying they're popular.
I'll wear a football jersey. I'll wear a baseball jersey with the best of them. Hopefully he's not watching the show. But my brother got me a Xavier Running Man basketball jersey, and I'm too big of a fella to be wearing a basketball jersey.
I think I need to get you a Miami Heat LeBron James number 6 jersey.
Oh yeah,
and we'll have.
There's something about wearing a basketball jersey that reminds me of like frats.
Yeah,
I like when I see a football jersey, when I see a baseball jersey, and I know like frats wear them, but like you're going out to the college bar when you're 19 to 22 years old. They are wearing a Vince Carter Toronto Raptors jersey.
Yeah.
They are wearing the Michael Jordan Space Jam jersey. Like those, that you will see those at a college bar every time you come out. You don't see that so much with football and baseball.
I think you know that it's a frat when that's all they're wearing.
Correct.
They're not wearing anything underneath that jersey. That's when it becomes a problem.
Yeah, so anyway, this story kind of took over the internet. And by the way, I think baseball jerseys are kind of classy. I think if you wear a buttoned-up baseball jersey, I think people are into that. But this story broke. The jerseys are terrible. This is a quote from Trey Turner, I believe. Just really blunt. Everybody hates them. Everybody hates these jerseys. They're foul. And I'm gonna get to some of these pictures because it's preposterous. So this is the pants situation for these jerseys.
This is going to make Molly very happy.
Molly's going to be very happy
Molly's
with this
going to
segment.
love this.
All right.
So let's take a look. Again, this is a tucked-in jersey.
We're going to slideshow this.
We're going to slideshow it. This is a tucked-in jersey, and you can see the jersey through the pants. You can see it. What are we doing?
And this is that's bad quality photo. This is like a professionally done photo of Shohei. And they you still can see it.
You can still see it.
What happens when they get a little sweaty? It's the middle of July, right?
Yeah,
they get a little sweaty and they stick to their legs. Or heaven forbid, a guy like that fills out a uniform like Spencer Steer.
Yeah,
you're gonna be seeing all of Steer.
I think you're gonna have to wear
see Steer the stud.
I think the jock strap's gonna come back this year in baseball in full effect. This next picture again, they look like almost like knockoff T-shirts. I'm trying to figure it out. They don't look good. It looks like if Reed and I went back into headlines machines and just started playing around with my terrible design skills, I could probably cook up this.
Now, these are like spring training unis.
Sure.
So they're not the exact same thing as what they're going to be wearing throughout the year, but yeah, they should be.
Look at it.
They should be better. They look like they came from Ally Express or DHgate, which if you've bought a jersey, those are straight from overseas. They're cheap as can be. Show the Josiah Gray one. This one's
the funniest one.
It's Josiah
Gray. I mean, it's just
so
preposterous. In a sport that has so much money, no, not a salary cap in sight. We can't get together and come up with a jersey that looks like it was made by somebody with some money. We can't have that. And this is why Rob Manfred, and I'm not going to blame it all on Rob Manfred, but when we're talking about marketing stars, could you imagine trying to market LeBron James with his underwear hanging out? I guess people want to see that too. But I'm just saying, LeBron James tucking in his jersey, you could just see the jersey through his shorts. That's not what we're doing here. And Rob Manfred, man, take a class one time. Take a PR class one time. Just once.
I think it's tired to hate on Rob Manfred. I really do.
Whose fault is this?
This would fall under the owners and whoever, the league making this deal.
This is Rob Manfred.
These jerseys look objectively bad. And like baseball players are different because I think we almost universally would like a thicker jersey. Like I remember when I played, Nike pants were always bad because they were so thin.
Yeah,
they were so thin to when you would be sliding into a base, it would hurt. Like you wouldn't.
Yeah,
it would hurt just because the jerseys were so thin. I hated Nike stuff.
It's terrible.
And now the majors got them. And poor Majestic. What's going to happen to that company? Because they not only that this was like their one thing is Majestic jerseys,
MLB jerseys,
but they also had a great slogan. If it happens in baseball, it happens in Majestic.
That's really good. That's a great slogan. I had never heard of it, if I'm going to be honest, Majestic, until Reed mentioned to me that's what they were before all this.
Yeah.
But shout out to Majestic.
They also before a decade ago, I'm pretty sure they sold all the licensed gear.
Yeah.
Up until probably 10, 15 years ago, it was almost all Majestic gear. Majestic used to do the NHL jerseys. They still might have the NHL jerseys, but similar to how when Reebok lost the NFL jerseys, Reebok's done, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Reebok's out. So Majestic's going to be gone.
Kirby says, a conspiracy. They did this on purpose to create a story. They'll fix the jerseys and make a big deal about it. If that's a big brain play by Robbie Manfred, if that's the case. That is a big brain play. I don't think that's the case, but I don't think he's got that. I don't think he's got the marbles for it, respectfully. But maybe it is. Maybe they wanted to make their product look so bad that people will just talk about them. Good play, Rob. Again,
the old rope-a-dope.
The old
classic
rope-a-dope.
rope-a-dope. Just put them in a corner, tie yourself out, and then you're like, dude, look how good these jerseys look now.
Does this affect the City Connect jerseys? Are the City Connect jerseys going to look this bad too?
What does this say about LeBron's legacy?
What does this say about LeBron's legacy? I just want the MLB. I just want you to market your players right one time. Can you just do it for me once? Can you just make them look good when they're on the field?
You want to know why you're talking about marketing players, right? One thing that Rob Manfred has said in the past that he got killed for was when they were talking about marketing players.
Yeah.
And he was like, I can't market Mike Trout if he doesn't want to be marketed. You remember this? This was like 5 years ago.
I don't remember that.
It was the All-Star game, and someone was like interviewing him, and they were like, saying like, why don't you market your players better? Which, by the way, that's a very vague thing. It's in the same jest of we need to run better plays. We need a better play caller. We need to market these guys better. And someone was like, why don't you market Mike Trout? He's one of the best players that have ever played the game. And Rob Manfred is like, Mike Trout doesn't want to be marketed. He's like, how can I market Mike Trout if he doesn't want to be marketed?
What does that mean? Like, I want to know what it means.
If Mike Trout
does any NBA player want to be marketed? Really? I mean, it's just like, does anybody ever want to be marketed? Because you're part of an organization. At some point, you have to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just comes like, were there companies not going up to Mike Trout and saying, "Hey, we want you to be the face of our organization," and Mike Trout was just like, "I'm good."
I mean, maybe that's the case. I have a hard time believing. And if that is the case, why don't you just put him in a commercial and call it a day? All I want is just let me see him. Let me see him out in the open.
It's also harder to market a baseball player than it is the other sports because, I mean, we love baseball here, but it's objectively the least cool out of the big three sports.
Yeah, but that's but you can market it right. I think more people would like it, right?
How would you like to market the players? Because the easiest way is to make them look cool. And it's
all right.
And
so let's make them look cool.
The hardest.
Let's make them look cool. Let's make them look cool. So they'll go outside and they're all smoking cigarettes and they're watching a drive-in and they're watching a drive-in movie. What's the movie?
It's got to be rated R.
Oh, it's got to be rated R. Let me think of one. What's the movie?
They're watching Reservoir Dogs by Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, that's it. And they're just watching it, smoking a cigarette, and then that's the whole commercial. Nobody says a word. They're just standing there in these terrible off-brand jerseys, and they're just smoking cigarettes, looking cool. Looking cool. By the way, Chatterbox Sports does not condone cigarette use.
Are you pro bat
Unofficial
flip?
statement. Pro backflip?
Yeah.
Bat flip.
Yeah, like a bat flip.
Oh, I think you said backflip. I cannot do a backflip. But bat flip, I am pro bat flip.
Okay, because
the unwritten rules are nonsense.
Yeah, because there was a time when people would be saying like, "Hey, you got to market your players," and then like Jose Bautista hits a game-winning home run in the postseason and chucks his bat, and everyone's like, "This is an abomination. What are we doing here?"
Well, that's inside the baseball world. Nobody outside of the baseball world thinks that. Everybody loves that.
Well, that's the point. Is like that's one way. Like that's cool stuff that baseball players do. Is bat flipping, celebrating, stuff like that.
The Will Benson bat flip was electric.
You can market that. Yeah, I see it on every time I get on YouTube.
The Reds are selling the hell out of it. It's crazy how marketing strategies change in the year. Right. Last year, the whole marketing strategy for the entire season for the Reds, the entire season's marketing strategy was for them to show Yankees coming into town. Yankees are coming into town this year. Come get some tickets to watch the Reds play the Yankees. That was it. No other marketing strategy other than that. This year, it's like Will Benson home run. Let's go have some excitement. Let's have some fun down at the ball yard. It's funny how a season changes. Perspective, expectations. I'll never forgive the Reds for doing that, by the way. I'll never forgive the Reds. And I think everybody got on the Pirates towards the end of last season because the Pirates advertised like Ellie was coming into town. And they're like, what a sad franchise. You can't even market your own players. I was like, guys, the Reds did it. The Reds did it like a month ago, like for the Yankees. And it's just wild. But yeah, shout out Rob Manfred, man. Another good choice by him, making the world's worst uniforms.
The Reds used to advertise on Cubs TV, on marquee television.
Yeah, that's
they
not
were coming
good.
to town.
That's not great.
That was wild. I remember watching Cubs games, and like a Reds commercial would just pop on up and just be like, wow. I mean, you're in a playoff push, and they're like, the Cubs are coming to town. Come watch your Cubs.
That is
Play in
sad.
Cincinnati.
That is sad. Another marketing strategy that Mouse Cop just brought up, and I forgot to tell you guys about. Shaquille O'Neal will be performing a post-game concert at GABP.
DJ Shaq, you going?
DJ Diesel. I think I might have to go. I was asked. I think I might buy those the floor. What is it called? The on the field tickets, on the field passes for it. If I can see Shaquille O'Neal up close, what does he DJ? Like, does his own music, or is he just?
Assuming he's just a DJ. Yeah. So
or like, do you think he just plays an iPod, and because he's Shaquille O'Neal, people will
Well,
come?
I think he's like spinning tracks.
Okay,
and,
yes. Does he do this like throughout the whole year?
Yeah, have you not seen the meme where he's like got all of his kids in his house?
No.
And he's DJing, and they will like they'll put it to like different songs. Like it would be like Mr. Brightside, and then, like it'll just be Shaq and all of his kids like dancing around the room, and it just drops jealousy, turn and takes it. Yeah.
I didn't know that. So this is the first I saw it went viral on Twitter the other day, and Shaquille O'Neal, professional basketball player, Hall of Famer, will be DJing after a Reds game. That'll be interesting. Casey, will you go with me to the Shaquille O'Neal DJ night?
I would love to go with you.
Me, you, and Big Diesel. Me, you, and Big Diesel. I think
what
that'll be
a sight
fun.
that would be.
I think that'll be fun. What is this? I don't know what that is. There was a link posted in the chat. But other than that, I'm going to switch to MLB Buy or Sell. We've been talking about the MLB jerseys. I wanted to see what Reed cooked up with these buy or sells because there's a lot of interesting stories this year in Major League Baseball, especially in the NL Central, but especially also in the NL West because I think the Dodgers are unanimously the most hated team of all time.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good sound effect.
Man. Yeah. All right, let's go. Buy or sell. Love it or hate it. Smug or pompous. What's the other one?
Love it or hate it.
Buy or sell, love or hate. Love it
fraud
or
or for real.
Fraud or for real.
Fraud or for
and
real.
there's love it or list it too.
Love it or list it, yes. Smug or pompous. This is going to be buy or sell. First one. Kind of a vague one, but buy or sell. Big name free agents go unsigned. Do you think we will start opening day with all these names without a team? The Jordan Montgomerys, the Cody Bellingers, the Matt Chapmans, the Blake Snells.
No, I think somebody's going to sign him. It is strange though to sign him like towards the end of spring training when I mean all these guys are going to be working out anyway. So how concerned are you really? Especially Cody Bellinger, he's used to the Cubs. If you were to go back with the Cubs. But no, I think they'll sign him. I have a hard time believing the Cy Young Award winner will not be on a team on opening day.
So you're selling.
I'm selling.
Sell.
Hating, and I'm frauding.
Sell.
Pompousing.
Yep. Casey, you got a take on this?
Just corporate greed in my mind will take
greed?
organizational
The CG.
greed will take over, and they will end up trying to get the biggest names out there. They'll make a push at some point. I'm going to sell.
Mr. Mo asked a good question. Is Scott Boras representing every single one of them?
Yes.
Is he really?
Yes.
So it is just a boycott of Scott Boras.
Correct.
Okay, well then I might be in on this.
Correct.
I might be in on
Matt
this.
Chapman, Cody Bellinger, Jordan Montgomery.
I didn't know they were
and
all
Blake
Boras
Snell.
guys.
Yes.
I knew Snell was. I knew
Yes.
Bellinger was. Okay, that's great then.
Those players are going to want to play.
See, this is why I think it's a buy.
I think that's my.
I think not all of them. But out of the names I just named, which are the top free agents, which is Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery, Cody Bellinger, Matt Chapman. Those four right there, all Scott Boras guys. At least half of them will not be on a team opening day.
They're going to want to play. I don't.
They want to play,
They
yeah.
wanna make money though.
But
they're gonna
Scott
wanna make
Boras,
money,
the Antichrist, as Marty Brenneman's going to get in their ear and be like, "Listen, this is officially a statement, right? This isn't anything. This is officially who's more stubborn. Are they going to give in, or is Scott Boras going to give in?
I think it's not going to be Scott. Scott Boras isn't giving in to anybody, and this is why I'm not a personal fan of Scott Boras. I'm not going to say he's ruining the sport, but I'd like a player to be affordable every now and then. Clearly, these guys are asking for the sun and the moon. Kirby puts in the chat, Dallas Keuchel did not sign until June 6th a couple years ago when he was a big free agent. Craig Kimbrell, when did he sign?
He signed when the first year that he was with the Cubs, he signed in July.
No way.
Yeah, he was just a free agent.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right.
Well.
So maybe it is. I'll tell you what. If it's a Boras, because I think India's a Boras guy. Hunter Green maybe too. I don't know. I forget which ones are Boras guys in the Reds. Senzel I know was. But yeah, listen. Shout out to Scott Boras. you might be ruining the sport, buddy, and nobody likes you, respectfully. Outside of that, let's see what we got, Reed.
There's few people that are as good at their job in sports as Scott Boras.
Oh, he's the best.
All right, NL Central gets 2 playoff teams. Buy or sell?
I mean, how many were almost there this year? About 3?
3 almost, but only 1 made it.
I'm going to sell. I think it's going to be one team. When you're talking about a division that 88 wins kind of gets you over the hump, I think you'll be hard-pressed to find 3 teams in there with 85-plus win seasons. I think it's going to be a lot of, again, Nick Krall's word, competitive baseball, but that means a lot of losing baseball. I think there's one team from the NL Central that makes it. I'm selling.
Sell.
And I'm hating it, and I'm listing it, and I'm, what's the other one? Frauding it?
Smugging it.
And pompous-ing.
Pompous-ing. I'm kind of with Elliot. There's only 3 teams that were almost in it because they were going to win the Central, right?
No, both the Cubs and the Reds were in.
Oh, that's right. They're the last wild card spot.
What's crazy is we forget how good the Brewers were in September. They won like 92 games.
Yeah.
Going into September, I think the Cubs and the Brewers were neck and neck. Like it was like a 2-game split going into September, and it ended up being a 10-game split.
I don't know if that changes my mind. No, I'll just buy it to be the contrarian. I'll buy it. I think the NL Central is just getting better and better.
Right.
To be honest, I mean it's getting more and more competitive. Maybe that's what would hold that take back. But I like where the Reds are heading. I think the Cubs are good. I think Pirates. You guys have talked about how much of a sleeper that team is. I don't know what the Brewers are anymore without that manager.
I don't know what the Brewers are either. I think that's an identity that's been lost. Again, it was based on their pitching. They still got great pitchers. They still got Freddie Peralta. They still got a bullpen with Devin Williams in it. They still got Woodruff, who's not playing this year. But it will be. I don't know. I don't know about the Brewers. I'm out.
But then that makes it so where like everyone's very competitive in the NL Central.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very competitive division. Listen, I'm looking at just can an NL Central team get as a wild card team? Obviously, I mean, let's go ahead and chalk the Braves and the Dodgers both in the playoffs, both win their division. There's going to be one NL Central team, so those are 3 teams, and then you're looking at Phillies, Diamondbacks. Could you see the Giants come back and be a better team this year? Could you see a team like the Marlins continue to get better?
Yep.
Yeah. So you know what? I think there's too much talent in this NL Central. I think it is going to be a tightly contested division. Like I think it's going to be like a lot of teams in the mid-80s, but I think 2 teams get in. I'll buy.
Do you think that there's a possibility? I don't even know if it's mathematically possible. Do you think every team in this division will have 80-plus wins?
Oh,
no. That's fair.
Is it possible? They played too many games against each other.
Didn't the AL East do it?
Every team wins at least 80?
I thought that was what was the AL East standings last year? I'll look it up. AL East standings,
the Boston Red Sox won 78. They came in last. But 4 out of the 5 teams did finish above 500.
Do you think 4 out of the 5 teams in the NL Central will be above 500?
No, again.
I also agree. I think the Pirates Pirates stink. I think the Brewers are going to stink. I think the Cubs are going to stink. I think it's a 2-horse race.
Fair enough. All right, we'll move on. We'll stay in the NL Central. 90 wins takes the Central.
Yeah.
Yes.
I buy this. Yeah, absolutely.
Buy it 100%.
I don't think there's going to be 2 teams, which would go against the last question I had. But I don't think there's going to be 2 teams winning 90 games. I think absolutely 90 games wins the Central.
I think it wins it. I'm not going to say easily, but I'm going to use the word easily. I think 90 wins this division by 3 games.
Okay.
So.
Okay. We'll have one more question centered here in Cincinnati.
Ooh.
You ready for this one? The Reds will have a starter in the All-Star game.
Ooh. Was Diaz not a... So they don't count that as a...
I think you're talking about starting pitcher, right? Are you talking about...
I'm talking about a guy on the field.
Just a guy, just a starter.
Or the starting pitcher.
So not a bullpen guy.
Correct. Bullpen guy disqualified.
Doesn't
Unless
count.
He starts the first inning.
Yes. The Reds will... I will buy. I will love it. I will smug it. And I will... I don't know the other one. For real it. I do think the Reds will have a player that gets a ton of votes this season and will start in the All-Star game. I don't think it'll be a pitcher. I think it's going to be Elly De La Cruz. I think Ellie De La Cruz is going to have a very good season. He's going to start in that game. If it's not Ellie, I think it's going to be Matt McClain. One of those two guys is going to start in the All-Star game. I'd bet a lot of money on it.
Is the All-Star game based off of
fan
vote?
It's all fan vote.
So it's going to be either Ellie or McClain. McLean, I should say. Yeah, those are the two.
This was the starting lineup for the National League last year. Sean Murphy for the Braves, catcher for the best team in the league. Freddie Freeman for the Dodgers, very well deserved. Luis Ariz was batting around 400 at the time. Nolan Arenado was the starting third baseman, earned it, future Hall of Famer, sure. Orlando Arcia was the starting shortstop.
It's Ellie's time. It's Ellie's time, baby.
Yeah, I don't think there's clearly not going to be an outfielder. Ronald Acuna, Mookie Betts, Corbin Carroll.
Yeah, that's
just a mix.
You see that most recent Kirby message in there?
What did he say?
He said Geraldo Perdomo and some bum named Dansby Swanson were the backup shortstops.
Yeah, I mean, listen, currently in the National League, there's not a whole lot of shortstop talent.
I don't think so.
I mean, Dansby's in here. I mean, Corey Seager's in the other league. Trey Turner.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I'm selling. I'm selling. Selling, you sick son of a guns. You thought I was going to buy. Sell.
How many Cubs made the All-Star game last year? It was like 5, right?
Cubs that made it. Dansby Swanson made it. Justin Steele made it, right?
Yeah.
Justin Steele made it. Marcus Stroman made it 3.
I saw this.
Marcus Stroman did not play, though. Did not show.
Casey, I saw this, by the way. I'm going to send it to you.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty cool. It was listing like the arm strength amongst, I guess, everybody in Major League Baseball. The strongest to least strongest. I think it's just shortstops. If I could be wrong on that. No, it's Chris Taylor too. It's Xander Bogaerts, Kyle Farmer. It might be. No, it's outfielders too. I don't know what I'm doing. But anyway, Ellie De La Cruz has by far the strongest arm in Major League Baseball. We got a couple things in Cincinnati. We might not have any championships, playoff series advancements, but we got Ellie De La Cruz leading the pack.
Hold on 1 second.
Oh,
there you go.
There we go. You can't even see it. It's so high. Notable names there. Reed's guy, Dansby Swanson, somewhere up in there in the middle. Reed's other guy, Javier Baez, towards the top.
Yeah, I'm looking at these names, and there are some big-time names up there with Ellie De La Cruz, guys you want to be associated with. Gabriel Arias?
Gunnar Henderson, he's good.
Schmidt? Miguel Duran?
What about Elvis Andrews?
There's some big names, big dog.
What about Bo Bichette? He's not a big name?
Where's Bo Bichette up in the front?
Bo Bichette's not up in the front.
Dude, what are we talking about?
All right, well, that's fine.
Like, yeah, all the good players are at the bottom. Listen, being able to throw the ball hard is obviously
it's a unique skill.
It's a very unique skill. Can I get something off my chest that I'll bring up every time that the phrase has been uttered on this show or on any chatterbox? When the phrase is said, and this is coming from a non-Reds fan, when the phrase is said, Ellie De La Cruz can be the best player on the planet, that rubs me the wrong way.
Why?
Because Shohei Ohtani is currently on this planet. Until Shohei Ohtani is not on this planet or retires from the game, that is, or 35 years old, or whatever you want. Like, Shohei does all the things that Ellie does. Like, Shohei's one of the fastest guys in the league. Doesn't steal 70 bases, but one of the fastest guys in the league. Hits the ball 450 feet. And then on top of that, he's a top 10 arm in the league.
I don't think anybody's... I think, by the way, Nick Kirby chimes in, Ohtani isn't pitching this year. I agree with Reed to an extent. But I think people are saying that he could be one of the best players in baseball. I don't think anybody says he is the best player in baseball. He could be the best player.
But when I hear the phrase, could be the best player on the planet, until Elon Musk ships Shohei Ohtani to Mars, I don't want to hear it.
That's fair. I'm not going to slander Ellie on today's show. We'll save that for another repost.
I don't think that's slander. I think Shohei Ohtani's the greatest baseball player who's ever lived.
That's fine, and you can think that. I'm not. I'm just going to say that Ohtani, and Nick Kirby just said it, he's not going to pitch forever. Do you think Shohei Ohtani could play good shortstop? Yes.
Yeah.
I think he could. I think he can play anywhere. I think when you're the best player in the sport, certainly you can play probably most positions. But that's it for baseball talk. Thank you to everybody. By the way, we have a cherry on top. Casey Rue,
Yep. I'm getting it ready.
He's getting it ready. The show sponsored by United Dairy Farmers, the greatest place in the world. I went to UDF last night after the UC game.
What'd you get?
A cookie. I needed a sad boy cookie.
You didn't get any ice cream?
No, no ice cream.
Did you get one of the happy cookies, like with the smiley face?
Yeah, I did.
You like a sugar cookie with some frosting.
I do. Yeah, look at me. So we have this is Paul's car here. Those who know Chatterbox know our good friend Paul. He works on some podcast. Sean Spurlock went to UDF and got ice cream after they lost last night. Sean, it's a great play. But this is our good friend Paul's car. What was the name of the car? Did he name it?
Becky or Jackie?
Jackie.
Come on, guys.
Jackie. When Paul was here before he quit on his family and us, he would drive us to lunch every day in this car.
Mm-hmm.
He would drive every single day. It was a majestic beast.
He had a little fur on the steering wheel.
Had fur.
On the steering
It
wheel.
was always a little bit messy, but man, it was fun.
I'm not going to blame him for being messy.
Well, neither am I. But I'm just saying. I'm just describing the car for the people. It was a great car, and yesterday, unfortunately, Jackie, just like Paul, quit. Quit on him, and it quit in the middle of a Burger King drive-through.
That's how I want to die.
When Paul sent the text, Jackie lived as she died in the Burger King drive-through line. I laughed out loud. Poor Paul. And Mouse Cop had a very funny tweet too yesterday. It was was Paul's sacrifice of his car Jackie not enough for Xavier to win. It was very funny, made me laugh. But I'm telling you right now, guys, there's going to be a day soon, probably within the next 4 months, I'm going to be somewhere, and my 2003 Chevy Impala, who I haven't named. Poll question of the day: what should I name my car? Poll question of the day: what should I name my car?
Poll question of the day should be: Do you name your car? Like,
do you have a name for your car?
Do you have a name for your car? Yes or no?
Yes or no?
Okay.
I'm not going to name my car as of now because I don't. It's hard to get emotionally attached to something that I know is going to die and fail. But I know Paul's pain. I get it. I have one of the world's worst cars. It's getting an oil change right now. She's getting fueled up, getting ready to go. So when I drive her home, she can stall at a red light. So that's, what is that, $60 down the drain. Do you have a name for your car? I'm going to vote no because I've never named a car. I think my sister named her car. I'll be interesting to see what the results in this poll are because I don't. He named his car Elliot. Molly named her car Betty White. I like that. Any other funny ones? The Silver Bullet.
I've had 2 vehicles.
Did you name them?
Neither one. What? I guess I fibbed. I did have a name for my first car, which was a Mustang, which of course a Mustang is a horse. So me and my friend that also had a Mustang named our cars in high school after like horse racing names. Mine was Sunday Silence.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, Sunday Silence.
I like that. Molly says her car now is called Black Betty. Oh, Black Betty. Bam-a-lam. Oh, Black Betty. My wife named her car Honda Rhonda. I like that. My Ford Ranger was called Rico. I'm not going to read the rest of it, but thank you, Mouse Cop, for that little quip. But yeah, it's just fun. It's just fun to see what people do with their cars. I obviously have a trash car, and I'm not going to name it. 80% of you say no, you do not name your cars, and that's probably.
I will not. Yeah, I do not name my truck.
Casey,
although
you
my
didn't
truck
name your car?
did perfect transportation.
Did I name my car?
Your car doesn't have a name, right?
No, not really. I used to call my car a POS all the time. I don't know if that's a clever name, but
that's kind of a name. That's kind of a name.
A little feisty. We look good over here, by the way. We have it.
Dude, don't we?
What was the nickname you guys called each other before the show?
Yes. I'm glad you got to that.
Yeah.
Any secession fans here? If there's any secession fans, you remember at the end of the show when cousin Greg and Tom call each other the disgusting brothers. Get over here! Look at these guys. Yeah. Also, there's pictures of Sammy Sosa in a cowboy outfit on that.
That was a funny bit. That was good. That was good. That's it for this show. Again, thank you everybody for tuning in. I tried my best. I'm not good at the rant. I'm not good at the Trace rant. What I need to do the next time I come on is just book it with interviews. I'll interview. I'll try to find what's our guy? What's his name? Lawnmower Man. I'll try to go out in the street and I'll try to interview him because it's, by the way, feels great outside. It feels great outside. Is it supposed to get cold again? That little rat, Punxsutawney Phil, said it was going to be spring real real soon.
Yeah, the next
and
10
then it snowed.
days, it's all supposed to be warm.
Jane, my sister Jane named her car Tyrone. But that's it. Have to break some Gregs to make a Tomlet. That is a very good line from Succession.
Fantastic.
Shout out USA Vet. Shout out Brian B. Shout out everybody who watches this show. Thank you very much. That's it. Off the bench. Hopefully we'll have Trace back tomorrow, or what's his name? CJ. We'll have CJ in tomorrow.
CJ Stroud.
CJ Stroud in tomorrow. I didn't know it was Trace. That was a hell of a job by him.
Well, I tried to get you guys. I was like, it's Trace. It's Trace.
I for the first, legitimately, I couldn't tell. Once you said it, then I feel like his accent started to slip. And once that happened, it was great.
Well, it was like once he started talking like Trace is when you got it. The voice he did enough to steer the voice off as normal. But then he just started. At one point, he almost said, "And this is where you lose me." This is where you lose me.
Thank you, Molly. Thank you, Blackmore. Even Blackmore. How about just go to WLWT Sports and interview there, Elliot? Thank you. That's it. That's the show. Casey, any final parting thoughts?
Last night, the MLS started.
Oh, yeah, MLS preview. Here we go, MLS preview.
And Messi had just an amazing it wasn't a goal, but he maybe I can pull it up. I mean, he's just ready to go.
You also sent me this, Adrian.
Good.
Actually, we're bringing the show back. I'm not ending the show yet. Casey also sent me the Adrian Peterson thing. I don't know if anybody knows what happened there. There was a report that came out. Adrian Peterson was auctioning off every MVP trophy he's ever won, every championship trophy he's ever won, and he was because usually athletes do that when they're in financial trouble. He released a video yesterday. Adrian Peterson did, and I think we'll play the video after we see this Messi clip. So here's a random Messi clip from a sport they call soccer. And by soccer, Trace means football.
He could have used his hands.
There it is.
I mean, look at this.
Chips
it over the
we got a guy. We got a guy laying on the ground. Why is that guy still on the ground? Why is he on the ground like that?
He's hurt.
What's this highlight?
Chips it over, and he almost scores.
Wait, you're showing me a highlight? You're showing me a highlight of a play where he didn't score?
It just shows how much in form he is. I mean, that is very difficult to do.
What are you talking about? So, what have you just showed me? You've showed me nothing.
I'm showing you he chipped it over a guy when he was down.
MLS soccer. Watch this clip of the world's best soccer player not score a goal over a guy that flopped and is laying on the ground for 35 minutes. That clip is why nobody watches. You just showed a clip that just showed why nobody watches the MLS.
Oh, my God. You just don't appreciate what you saw.
Can we run the Adrian Peterson video?
That's fine.
I mean, that was the world's worst clip.
That's not a terrible clip. It just shows how good he is.
Didn't Johnny?
Most players can't do that, Elliot. When they're in a full-on sprint to try to score, they can't chip it over an injured player.
Mr. Mo, what are we doing showing this mockery? He chipped it over a guy who's pretending to be dead. I mean, Casey, that was a tough clip. I thought you were going to show a clip where he scored a magnificent shot.
Casey, I thought the clip was fantastic.
I mean, that was terrible. The disrespect. Dude got his hand stepped on with cleats.
I thought maybe the description of the clip, the way that you described it, was a little...
I think it was a little skeptical.
Was a little messy.
What?
Oh! Here's AP.
Here we go. Adrian Peterson.
I want to clarify recent rumors and media reports and a state sale company without my authorization included some of my trophies in a sale, despite clear instructions to leave personal items untouched. I did not authorize the sale of any of my trophies, and I will be taking legal action. Trusting this company without supervision was my mistake. We allowed them to go into several of our storage units with clear instructions. They clearly did something unlawful. I want to emphasize that I am financially stable. It would never sell off my hard-earned trophies. And if I was going to sell them, I know people that I can sell them to. I wouldn't go online and sell my personal items randomly. So let that sink in. It's concerning that the media outlets did not verify this information with my publicist or me, because a lot of you guys have my number. But, you know, it is what it is. I just wanted to address this and put in my own words, because people have been texting me here the past hour. But it's all good. I'm finna go upstairs and continue to praise God and celebrate. I'm not gonna let the devil win. God bless. Have a wonderful night.
Man, what a turn that took towards the end of that. That was interesting. Yeah, I thought that was great.
Do you remember a couple of years ago when Johnny Bench sold all of his?
I do remember that.
And his buddy bought it all.
Yeah.
And then just gave it back
to him.
And it's like, couldn't you have just like, why do we do this process?
I think there's like taxes or something.
Okay, I was like, why do we have to do this process?
Yeah, that's silly. Pete Rose sells all his stuff too, right? That's his big shtick. He signs all the balls all the time.
Yes.
I think that's
good guy.
What did you say?
Pete Rose, notoriously good guy.
That's what they say. That's it. Now we'll end the show. Off the bench. Thank you. See you tomorrow. Hopefully Trace is in. Reed, thank you very much. Casey, thank you very much. Audience, thank you for listening to me ramble. Justin Williams, thank you for coming on. And now, right now, it is Nick Kirby previewing the St. Louis Cardinals to see if they're good enough to win a division. I don't think so, but we'll see.
Oh, and FC later tonight at 9 p.m. CONCACAF Championships Cup.
Me.
Which cup is this?
I just said it.
You just
CONCACAF.
said the CONCACAF's Champions Cup. Do you listen?
Yeah, but whatever. CONCACAF Champions Cup. We'll see somebody pretend to be dead there, too. That's it. Have a great day.